everyone. Welcome to Monday. It is June. That's a good question. Let's see. It's June 22nd today. It's going by rapidly. I have the blur of time going on. You know, you just don't necessarily know what day it is until you look. So welcome. Today we have Chris. And Chris, can you tell us a little bit about your position and your beautifully sounding last name? What ethnicity?
Sure. The last name is Veneziale. It's Italian. It means family from Venice. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It is. So yeah, that's my dad's side of the family. And as I'm the SEO team lead and SEO analyst for Beyond Indigo, and I've been here coming up on 3 years in August, amazingly, just like that.
Right? It just goes, and then you're like, wait a minute, let me count the days.
Yeah, amazing.
Well, today we're going to talk about Google and Google Console in specific, but we do, Google just came out with a news release, not from Google, but somebody watching Google just came out not even maybe 20 minutes ago and says Google's losing money. That's kind of big news. So we're going to kind of start with that. Google is losing a little bit of money, which means, see, Google's US ad revenue is taking a hit because businesses have pulled back during these trying times and are not advertising as much. So therefore, when businesses don't advertise, Google doesn't make money. And therefore, Google is now losing money. So that's kind of a new thing. But as we pop Chris back up here on the screen, we can tell you what we're seeing because of this piece of information ourselves. So like, Chris, what's before March 1st, what were the average costs for a Google ad? And now, you know, here we are in June 22nd, what are the average costs that we're seeing? Because Google's now a good deal, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing, you know, prior to March, the average cost per clicks for our search ads were usually over $2 for, you know, the common terms that we bid on, veterinarian near me, that sort of thing. And now with them experiencing the loss of, you know, with less people advertising and them getting a loss of income, the competition for those keywords is not as intense. So for the clients that I'm managing, I'm seeing well under $2 cost per click, $1.40, $1.50. And that's even in some pretty competitive states like California, which is traditionally higher.
Right.
So
Google's on sale, basically.
Yeah, it's a good time to advertise.
Yeah, kind of leap on that because not only is the cost lower, but the cost lower means there's less people getting ads. So then there's less brand name competition on the screen, so to speak. So a good time there. And once we have ads, one of the tools that we use is Google Console. I don't think necessarily maybe everybody knows about Google Console, but it's one of our key tools. So Chris, how does Google use Google Console in akin to somebody's website? Like, what are some top things Google does with it?
Well, the way that we kind of like to describe Google Search Console is it's like the under the hood way of looking at your website. So it's the way that they will communicate to you as the website owner any potential problems that they're seeing with your site's performance and with page indexing. So those are the two primary areas of focus generally. So when I say page indexing, the way Google and other search engines work is they crawl your website and then they basically make an index of every page that's on your website so that they know how your website is built and how it's structured. So if a page is not indexing, that means it's not going to show up in search results. So Search Console is where you would go to to monitor that stuff.
So Google, if there's a problem with your website, does not email the website owner or the website master, right? Google sends that warning or that, red flag, hey, there's a problem, to Google Console, and Google is assuming that you're looking at Google Console.
Pretty much.
Yep. Okay, so if you're not looking at Google Console, you could be kind of missing some valuable information from Google. And Google also doesn't like a lot of warnings on your website, depending on what they are, and then it will hurt your visibility in Google. They'll start dropping you lower because Google doesn't want people coming to your website and having a bad experience because it looks poorly on Google, right? So there's all that.
Yep.
I personally think, you may or may not agree, but Google Console is still one of the few places that are like understandable by the average human. Right?
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. It's much easier to understand than like Google Analytics, which is just an overwhelming amount of information that if you don't know how to read it, it's a little more complicated. Google Search Console is pretty easily laid out, and information is like pretty much plain English.
Pretty much like, here are the search terms. Dog,
right.
Bad, right? Itchy skin. This is how they came to your website. And I think that's really valuable for people to know how they got there. Besides the errors on the website, also they track if your website is slow, which Google doesn't like too much as well. So I've seen that in there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, Google's recommendation is that your website load on mobile devices in 3 seconds or less.
Mm-hmm.
So any pages, and Google Search Console is going to be where you'll find out if there are pages that are not loading that quickly. So it's like you said, if the more pages you have that are loading slower, eventually that'll affect your search rankings and your visibility.
Mm-hmm. It'll take a direct hit.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a surge. Like there's a wave that comes through your website or your server's slow or whatever. Google Console is not an automatic just add water and let it grow scenario with your website, right? Like humans actually have to turn it on and then actually add a piece of code to the website to make the two talk so that Google knows where your website is and the website knows where to send data, correct?
Yep. Yeah, there's a very short process that you need to do to link your website to the Search Console. But like you said, it's not just something that happens by itself. It does require basically an authentication.
Right, and it's hidden kind of in the code too. It's not like you put it in the text on the homepage. It shows
right.
up, so it shows up. Where do they usually put it? Header, footer, both? One of the two?
I think it's in the header. There's multiple ways to verify your property. I think the main way we do it is Google provides you a file that you load to your website, and then you basically put that in the root directory or the main folder of your website, and then when you go there, that verifies the Search Console. That's the main way that we do it.
That's the main way, but with all of what you just said means a person who owns a website just can't willy-nilly go do that themselves unless they understand what the root is to the server, have access to the server to get to the root
right.
to the website, right? So they need to have this turned on. This is an absolute essential piece of your website because without it, it's sort of like for veterinarians, it's like you seeing a dog without any lab work or any diagnostics. All you get is hands on fur, but you don't get to see what's underneath that fur. That's the equivalent for marketers. Like we need that data. So the bottom line is, whoever your marketing provider is, here at Beyond Indigo, if you're our client, we do that for you. You need to have Google Console attached to your website, and you need to have access to it, right? So there's different levels of access that people can have.
Yep. Yeah,
Yep.
just like any other Google search or Google property, multiple levels like admin, user, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so it's sort of like the owner should always be an admin, whether they do anything with it or not, right? They should always have the keys to the data.
Yep, absolutely.
Google Console, you only do it once though, right? Like you only have one console, because if your website evolves, which it should, or you get a new website, you don't get a new Google Console. You just keep
right. Yes.
Right.
So that the console is attached to your URL. So unless your URL changes, it's just a one and done thing. You set it up and then you have it forever, as long as you have that same URL.
Then you're good, and then you can get all the historical data. And one of my big pet peeves is you should always keep access to your own data. You know, you should never let somebody else own or control that data. You should always be the one that says who can see the data or not. So something else to think about, right?
Yeah.
So Google Console, it's a must. It's a requirement. It should go hand in hand because it's the underbelly of the website, the things that you can't see. It's where Google communicates. Owners should have admin privileges, whether they use them or not, it's their choice. A marketing company, unless you understand code, needs to, or a webmaster needs to add the code. And I personally think owners should look at this data every once in a while, at least once a quarter, you know, or get reports, because it tells you a lot about where people are coming from. I mean, I always enjoy just seeing that information. Just what are people doing out there with your data, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And like we said, it'll kind of tell you what parts of your website are not working well. So that's important to keep an eye on.
Mm-hmm. Google's fussy.
They are, to say the least. Oh, and then
Google's very sensitive.
I think one other thing that's probably important to mention about the console is that's where you would upload your website sitemap also, which is important. So your website sitemap is basically a map of how your website is structured and what pages are included. So as Google crawls your website, it compares it to your sitemap. Okay. So any discrepancies that they see, they will flag. So it's important to, you know, the sitemap is basically your way of saying, hey, Google, this is my website, pages that are on it. So if they find pages on your sitemap that are not on your website or vice versa, they're going to say, hey, this looks like it might be a problem.
Got it. So you need to keep that updated. But again, the sitemap lives on the server.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's not just something you can just throw up willy-nilly and say in a blog. Like it has to live on the server. So you need to have access. So it's very key that you have access to the server, is what you're saying, and or somebody who knows and understands where all that goes.
Yep.
Got it. So as we finish up today, you and I were having a really good chuckle before this with marketing to yourself about our dogs. Because, right? Because
not.
They're giving us the death glare about the whole leash business for yet another walk, because that's what we've been doing, is walking a lot, and you're in the Pennsylvania area, right? So what is your dog doing when they see the leash?
Well, she still gets excited about going for the walk, so she gets excited with the leash, but then as soon as I open the door and the humidity hits her in the face, she doesn't really want to go out so much. Unless she sees a squirrel.
Oh, well then, of course, that's a whole different story, right?
Yeah, then it's, you know, try to make a beeline across the street. But yeah, she's not terribly thrilled with the heat and the humidity now. In fact, she's just laying down here trying to get some wind from the fan.
Trying to ignore it all. Yeah, mine's hiding underneath the desk, and we're playing Ring Around the Posy with the desk and the leash and it's like, not another walk, not one more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what happened to you with all these walks? So they crack me up, right?
Yeah, they're funny.
Mine's sleeping down here. Yeah, he's sleeping with his head off the pillow. I don't know why he finds that comfortable, but the entire body and then the head drops, like, right off the cliff.
Too funny.
But, he's already been for almost a 4-mile walk, so that's good.
That is good.
Well, thank you for being here, Chris. Thanks for
having me.
Love Google Console because it's so easy to read. So I'm glad that we could share that with people today. And I hope that you guys just go poke around. I mean, you can poke all the buttons. You won't destroy anything. Just don't never hit any of the things, the word that says delete, and you'll be good. Right? Nothing to delete. But otherwise, poke around. So thank you so much. And have a great day.
Thanks.